Hello aspirants, welcome to another session from Time, the leaders in test prep. So, this session is a continuation of the previous session which was aimed at helping you understand vocabulary building. So, today we'll take a deeper glance at the same topic, vocabulary building. You're all aware of the role vocabulary plays in all competitive exams and especially all MBA entrance tests, including of course the CAT, which you may argue with me by saying does not have any direct vocab question posed, but that does not make the importance of vocabulary any less significant. So please never undermine the importance of vocabulary because words have power and this power will help you deal with a lot of things that the exam presents. Okay. So, let's begin with understanding vocabulary in its entirety. As you can see, I've put the word vocabulary in quotes. So, this is something that you should focus on. And let's first begin with knowing the definition of the word itself. So, how do we define the term vocabulary? A vocabulary, also known as a lexicon, is a set of words, typically the set in a language or the set known to an individual. Okay, so this is not very difficult, it's simple. The word vocabulary, now where did it come from? It originated from the Latin vocabulum, meaning a word or name. And a vocabulary is also the set of words in any given language that any person, any individual knows and uses. So, as a native of that language, any language, a person, whatever words, the number of words that that person knows is also vocabulary. In the context of linguistics, however, a vocabulary may refer more broadly to any set of words. So, these are the many definitions of the term vocabulary which we come across so often, and if we understand the word in itself, in its deeper sense, in its complete sense, then it will help us approach it with more focus. Okay, so we move on to kinds of vocabulary. So, what are these words? Now, as you can see, we have on the screen these two terms, productive and receptive vocabulary. I'm sure quite a few of you may not have even come across these terms. They are very important, not because you need to memorize them or you need to know forever what they mean, but understand the concept. So, this will give you some clarity as to what you are actually trying to approach and what all it entails. So, I'm sure this will help you. Productive first. So, productive vocabulary, as the term itself suggests, refers to what? To the knowledge to produce a word when an individual needs to use it in writing or speech. Now, this should not be very difficult to understand because we all have so many words which we come up with the moment there's a need to use words. So, whenever we need to express, be it in any form, in speech or in any kind of writing, we do come up with some words so that the ideas in our head may reach the receiver, and that set of words that we have and that we dig into and bring out are known as productive words. So, productive vocabulary refers to that set of words. It is that word or group of words that a person expresses in speech and writing. So, this is just a reiteration of what I told you right now. Now, we come to the next term. Okay, receptive vocabulary. Receptivity refers to a person's ability to receive something. So, receptive vocabulary refers to the collection of words that are understood by an individual. So, I hope you're able to understand the difference. Productive is one which we produce on our own. The words that we have learned, okay, in the process or in the course of growing up, and which we immediately think of or which come to our mind when there is a need to convey an idea or to express ourselves. Whereas receptive vocabulary is that collection of words that are understood by an individual. So, what does this mean? It is that vocabulary that can be learned through spoken or written language, sign language, for example, gestures or through symbols. So, we have words all around us in different forms, and what vocabulary we imbibe, we take in from our surroundings, from the people with whom we interact, or in the environment that we grow up in. That set of words is what receptive vocabulary is about. Okay, so I hope you're clear with both of these terms. Now, after this, we'll also get to know what degree of knowledge is. So, you understand that be it receptive or productive vocabulary, any number of words that we are either aware of or that we keep learning in the process constitute knowledge. And so, we now need to understand the degree of knowledge that we possess. So, degree of knowledge implies that a word gradually enters a learner's vocabulary over a period of time as more aspects of word knowledge are learned. So, as we keep growing up, we keep interacting with people, we come across so many resources that help us enhance that word power, and that then keeps pushing us up to various levels, and this is what degree of knowledge means. So, after all this, we come across several stages. So, there are so many stages that we go through in the process of learning words that we are aware of. The first stage is when it comes to a word, you may have never encountered a word at all. Doesn't it happen so many times when you read, and I'm sure you do, you come across certain words that you may not have heard or read about any time ever at all. So, this is the first stage. Okay, now I'm taking you through a better understanding of not just what words or vocabulary is, but also the process of learning and imbibing new words. So, when we come across a word which we have never faced at all, this constitutes the first stage. Then comes the second one, where we may have heard the word but cannot define it. I'm sure all of you would also be able to relate to this. Yes, we do come across words which we know, okay, the word means something, but what exactly does it mean? And of course, how do I use it is something that you don't have any idea of. So, this is the next stage. And then we are familiar with the word due to context or tone. We are familiar, that's it. We know the word, but then the next step may still defeat us. So, these are the first three stages, and then we come to another stage where we are aware of the general or intended meaning but cannot explain it clearly. Okay, so we have so many words in our lexicon, we do know so many words, but there could be words which we know mean this, okay, but then if you are asked to explain it, you will not be able to at all. In my classes, I come across so many situations in which my students are aware of what a particular word means. They understand it, but then if I ask them to define it, then they are at odds. So, this is that stage. And then you are fluent with the word, its definition, connotation, intensity, and usage. So, if you remember, in my previous session, in my previous video, I discussed this term, connotation, and of course, definition also. So, now we have a few words which we are very fluent with. We cannot just use those words, but we also can define them. We know what they connote, positivity, negativity, or neutrality, the intensity of these words, and of course their usages. So, this is that stage when we're comfortable with whatever we know. So, there are so many stages that I've taken you through too, and when we start putting our foot forward to start learning new words, then we have to cross each of these stages. Okay? Let's also look at types of vocabulary. We have the reading vocabulary, the listening vocabulary, the speaking vocabulary, and writing vocabulary. Now, these are the 4 types, and I'm sure you do understand what each means. I'll give you something more about them so that you have greater clarity. So, the first one, reading vocabulary. The word reading itself should give you an idea that it refers to those words we recognize when reading. So whenever in the course of reading we come across a particular word and we are able to recognize it, then this is that kind of vocabulary. So what is reading vocabulary? Words that are recognized when reading. Okay. Then we come to listening vocabulary. Now, when we are receptive to whatever goes on around us, then we come across so many words because we hear people talking to us, even when we at times have people not talking to us, but because we are able, we have the power to listen or hear, we do come across words. So be it those words that are, given to us directly, or those that float around us, we are able to listen to them, and this makes up listening vocabulary. So what does it mean? Words recognized when listening to speech. So if you are in a session, let's say, and somebody is speaking, there's a speaker giving you some session, you are able to listen, understand what that person is saying, and the words that you make sense of because they are given to you, those words make up listening vocabulary. Okay. Then speaking vocabulary. So what is speaking vocabulary? It's not difficult at all. Speaking vocabulary is, I feel, something which we are able to relate with the first. So it is the number of words which we use in speech. Okay. Speech is spontaneous, so words may unintentionally be slightly misused. Now, this is something we always have to be mindful about. Factors like facial expressions and tone of voice compensate for this misuse. I'm sure all of you will be able to understand this quite well, because at times when we say something where the idea that we intend to convey and the idea that's received by the listener probably is at times slightly misunderstood, or is at variance with what the person receives, then there is a chance that we have ended up misusing a word. When we try to learn a lot of words but we are not aware of their usage, or when we are not careful with the usage, then we may land up in this kind of situation. So how do we overcome this kind of problem? Of course, all of us have tried it, and this is not something that is new. So there are so many other facials that can compensate and come as a saving grace. What are they? Facial expressions and tone of voice, and they compensate for this kind of misuse, which a lot of us, in fact, probably all of us at time may get into. So this zone is not new to us. Of course, the effort, the endeavor should always be to try to not get ourselves in this kind of situation. Then finally comes in the writing vocabulary. Writing vocabulary comprises words that we use in writing or that are used in writing and we understand them. So is generally limited by preference and context. So basically here it is not the words that we come across when others write. It is the words that we use in writing. So that is why they are limited by preference and context. Different people prefer different synonyms of the same word. So we have so many words that we are aware of, but we may use different words to express the same idea, right? Which is why a lot of people have a better command on what they speak, while a few are not able to reach that level. So this is that kind of vocabulary which comprises words that we come up with when we have to write. The endeavor should also be to improve on this aspect as well. Now, let's take a look at some vocabulary building techniques. So, having discussed whatever I did till so far, we got to understand something. Now, what will help us in progressing such that the number of words we know today and the number of words that we will get to know a few days, a few weeks and a few months later depend on what techniques we employ to ensure that we are able to reach that stage. So, we have read frequently. Okay, so we need to keep reading, and in the process we get to come across a lot of words. We need to make connections to those words that we already know. So when we read, this becomes something that is possible, or it helps us. Then we need to not just be aware of words, we need to also keep a running list of unfamiliar words. I hope you remember a little while ago, I told you that we may come across words that we are absolutely unfamiliar with, words that we have never heard, never, of course, used, never found in any kind of writing as well. So if you come across such a word, then it's always recommended that you make a list of these words, and it says keep a running list. That means the list should keep on increasing, because I'm sure we can never run out of words. We can never reach a stage when we can satisfy ourselves and say, oh my God, I don't need to know any more words. We need to keep on reading, keep on acquiring new vocabulary. Look up the dictionary for word meanings and usage. So this comes up next when we have a running list of those words which are new to us. We need to familiarize ourselves with them. So what do we do and how do we do that? We need to open the dictionary, keep a dictionary handy, open it, look up the meaning and try to not just know what it means, how it is defined, but also learn the various usages that any given word may have. The next step is to memorize as many words as you can. Now, how would you do that? Could be the question that may pop in your mind. How do you memorize words? So this is something that does not come easily to everybody. Like if I want to learn 5 more words today, I'll go about trying to find them out. I look them up in the dictionary, and then today, I may feel confident that I remember the words and I do not get confused with what they mean. But what happens the next day? If the effort is to keep adding new words to whatever I'm already aware of or to my knowledge, and then I want to continue with this effort and I learn 5 more words, then what is the guarantee that I will be able to remember the ones that I've learned on the previous day? So that is why I said memorize as many words as you can is easier said than done. But because it is something that we need to achieve, it is our objective, our goal, we need to come up with efforts and of course those kind of plans to ensure that this is in place. So how do you memorize words? You cannot memorize words simply by remembering the word and what it means, until and unless you have a sentence, a context in which you know this word is used in this manner. It will not be very easy for you to remember each and every word that you want to remember. So please make sure that when you come across new words and you follow this process, you also remember the usage. Okay? Develop word consciousness. So what is that? How do you develop word consciousness? You are aware of a word, okay, and you want to know what it connotes. So does it mean something which is positive or does it connote something which is negative? You also need to understand whether a word that you have come across and you have learned is mild or very strong. So this is word consciousness. You don't just know a word, you don't just know what it means, but also what it connotes, what it denotes, and you also know which other word it can be paired with. So you need to keep reading and keep making sure that all these steps are in place so that your word consciousness keeps growing. And this is not the end. You need to diversify. So don't just try to learn words which are used in a particular context. Try to learn as many words from different contexts that you can gauge. So try to intensify your reading, read a variety of topics, and when you read a variety of topics and not only those topics or those genres that you like or you have an interest in, then you will come across words that are also different. So you may come across jargon, you may come across words which are used in a particular situation. So this is the diversification that you need to have in place. The variety will help you express yourselves better later on. Okay? And having said it, I will also end with this note of caution. Use it or lose it. So unless you start using words, you start ensuring that you interact with people using the kind of words that you have learned, you start writing to make sure that you don't forget them, you will end up losing. losing whatever knowledge you have put in so much of effort to acquire. So please do not do that. Do not lose it. Okay. So use it or lose it. With this, I come to the end of this session, and I'm sure you have found this session enriching. For more of such videos, please stay tuned to our YouTube channel, Time for Education.